Good morning, folks, and welcome to another Monday morning inspiration. It is time to get your week started off just right. We have a nice crew here ready to get some Monday morning inspiration. We have a very special guest today, Diane Sancilio, and her message, just do it. It's a quote by the Nike slogan. So whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So I'm not going to go over the entire biography. What I will say is that Diane is the Director of Counseling and Support Services here at Gilchrist, and she is just a vital leader and member of the team. She is also a licensed social worker and clinician, but I will let her share her own story because it's part of her inspirations. And with that, Diane, welcome, and we are so glad that you could join us today. So take it away.
Well, Wayman, thank you, and so wonderful seeing you all this morning. I'm usually the one either hosting or just being a part of it, so it's fun to actually be giving the inspirational message, and hopefully it will be inspiring to you. So Wayman, do you want to start with the PowerPoint?
Yes, I will put that up right now.
So I'm going to begin. So 9.5 years ago, and I can't even believe it's 9.5 years ago, I found one of my great loves, hospice. I became the Director of Volunteer Services for a hospice program, Hospice of the Chesapeake, which is in Anne Arundel and Prince George's. And then I found another love, and that love was veterans. So before we show the next picture, Wayman, I again want to read this motto or this quote because it inspires me, and I hope it inspires you. Whatever you can or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Next, please. So my great love is the veterans. I think you all know, I mean, that is one of my passions and love. And so when I was at Hospice of the Chesapeake, I had the privilege of developing their We Honor Veterans program. And because we lived in Annapolis, at that point, we used a lot of midshipmen. And so the midshipmen were amazing. And it's that younger generation, honoring our veterans. And so the cornerstone of the work that we did, like here at Gilchrist, is the tributes. The tributes are so powerful and meaningful. And if you don't know the tributes, it's when, for Gilchrist, it's our veterans that dress in uniform and they go and do a celebration of service. And it includes, they provide a handmade blanket, patriotic blanket, they pin letters of gratitude from children. It's a beautiful, beautiful ceremony and celebration of service. And so I heard these stories hundreds and hundreds of times. How was it? And I would hear these beautiful stories, but there were some stories in regards to the Vietnam veterans that really, I'm going to say haunted me. So Wayman, if you would go, not the next one, which is you'll see the midshipmen, but this next one. So I want to share with you two stories that it really inspired this idea. So the first story is about Mr. McMillan, and Mr. McMillan, Vietnam veteran on hospice service. And he had a Vietnam veteran volunteer his name was Bill Malicki, and Bill Malicki is one of the most wonderful men. And he kept saying to Mr. McMillan, hey, what do you think? We've got this thing called an honor salute, and no honor salute. And he would bring it up. No, I don't need to be honored. And then towards the end of his life, his wife said, I think it's time. I think it's time for a salute. So we bring in the midshipmen, and, they do this beautiful celebration of service. And at the very end, one of the midshipmen bends down and says, and sir, we want to welcome you home. And he had tears in his eyes. And he later told his wife, that's the first time I've ever been welcomed home. Second story. So Mr. Chase, Vietnam veteran, combat veteran, again, another ceremony, bringing in the midshipmen. Ceremony's over, midshipmen are getting ready to leave, and he says, wait a minute. Can you come back? I got to ask you a question. Something I've never asked before. I need to know the answer. So he shares that at 18, he was a draftee, young, and he was hit with the butt of a rifle, and he turned around and he shot his rifle, and it was a little boy. And he said, I just need to know, what would you have done? And one of the midshipmen stepped up and said, sir, it was self-defense. We would have done the same thing. And we learned later, the next day, that he died. But his wife shared with us, she never saw such peace. It was like this burden was lifted. Next, please. So I had a friend that I met, and we started talking about our passion for veterans. Her dad was a World War II pilot. And her best friend's brother, older brother, came home from Vietnam and died by suicide. And this has haunted her. And the stories that I heard just really, I struggled with. And so she and I were like, well, why don't we do a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day celebration? Let's welcome home our Vietnam veterans. Why are we waiting till they're at their deathbed? Why are we waiting till they're dying to give them some peace, to give them honor, to celebrate them and say thank you and welcome home? So the first thing we did was we pulled a focus group, right? Always pull a focus group, a listening session, Wayman. And we pulled 15 Vietnam veterans. And some were from Fort Meade, some were from, the neighborhood where we met folks, and some were from the vet center, and some were volunteers at Hospice of the Chesapeake. Next, please, Wayman. So this is the focus group. And so I'll tell you, they said, this is an amazing idea. But what really stuck out, and I've never forgotten this, is they said, but we want to lead it. Like, we want to be the color guard. We want to be the speakers. We want to have a major role. It's Vietnam veterans helping Vietnam veterans. So I've never forgotten that. And at the meeting, we thought, Susan and I, now this is January 2015, we thought, oh, Fort Meade's going to run it and we'll just help support them. So there was, in passing, one of the Fort Meade representatives said, oh, yeah, so you all are going to host it. So next slide. So Susan and Walker and I looked at each other and we're like, well, I guess we're going to host it. Now, remember, we have 45 days, right? Because March 30th. So next, please. So now we have to convince leadership, right? We have to convince, people in the task force. We have to convince leadership, like, we got this idea and this is what we're thinking. And they were like, what? Do you realize, one, it's fast? Who's going to raise the money? There's time. And I think the biggest question was, why is hospice doing this? Why? Next, please. So on top of this big celebration we're thinking about, right? And we're trying to convince people, is we had another idea. Well, why don't we get a law, a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day celebration law? Why don't we get this into law so it leaves a legacy? And so we did some research, and Jose Ramos, you'll see him in the bottom right, he's a Vietnam veteran medic. And he rode his bike across the country twice, trying to get bills signed into law across the country. And the very first bill, he was from California, was with Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2009, making March 30th Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. And today, I believe it's 45 states and and Puerto Rico. So next, please. So we decide we're going to approach Senator Astle. John, Senator Astle, what do you think about a bill? What do you think about a law? He's like, yep, I'm in. I'm sponsoring it. He sponsored SB 80, I think was and so we testified. There was a group of us testified along with our Vietnam veterans family members. Actually, Miss Chase's husband and daughter testified. And you'll see he was the only combat Vietnam veteran in the Senate. Next slide, please. And so I just love this picture of him with his great handlebar mustaches. So now we didn't have just one event, we had two events. We had a bill signing event because we proposed and John thought, yep, Senator Russell thought we can get this through. And it was actually passed unanimously. There was not one dissension. And then the House said, we want to sponsor this. And so it passed through. Next, please. And so we had two events. So the first was the bill signing. March 30th, emergency bill. Governor Hogan signed his very first bill into law. And we invited all of our Vietnam veteran volunteers, community volunteers, people from the focus group. And you'll see, next slide, please. This is the actual, here we are at the bill signing. There I am on the very left. And that was our group. And you can see some of the family members of Mr. Chase. And also the wife of Miss McMillan were there at the bill signing. And then next, please, Wayman, our first event. And there it is. Can you believe that? That was our first event. And let me tell you, we went from the Capitol, next, please. We walked, all of us walked in a line, and we went to the very first event, which was over 420 people. It was packed. It was at the Lowe's. And you can see Governor Hogan was there, and you can see some of the Vietnam veterans. Next, please. And so next, please. So those are just some of the pictures. And what has happened? So the first 3 years, the first was 420. The second year, we had a cap it, 900 people showed. The third year, 1,150 people. And then I came to Gilchrist, and with my team, and Kim is on, and with Kim's help, our very first welcome home here at Gilchrist. Next, please. And so it's grown. So we did, the first year was over 700 at Gilchrist. The second year, and you'll see the next one, it was packed, over 900 people. And then, of course, next, please. And then, of course, the pandemic hits, right? But you can see just the impact that it's had. And if you've ever been to it, it's incredibly powerful. Next. So you'll see a couple of slides. But what I really want to read to you is the impact statements. Next, please. So if you can blow this up here, here's a couple things I just want to share with you. So one of them was I thought the healing process was complete after last year's event, but this year proved it to be continuous. I'm already putting next year on my calendar. Another gentleman said, it makes me realize how important it is to know that I've got to continue healing in my PTSD. Healing has been so hard because of the betrayal. Here's another one. The friendships and bonds that have impacted my world since March 2018 have been life-changing. Gilchrist has given me purpose and enlightenment that I didn't know was missing until then. The best part is being able to share the healing process with other veterans and their families. The final salute brought tears to my eyes. The pleasure of being with my brothers cannot be measured. Welcoming us vets home has been a great thing to do for us. Some of the stories helped my wife understand more of what I experienced. Here's another one. I love this one. It's a great impact on my Vietnam veteran husband. He hasn't stopped talking about how good it made him feel. We finally have received our welcome home package. As a woman veteran, I finally feel appreciated and seen. And I love this one, the best I've felt in a very long time. Next, please. So we always do surveys, a couple more impact statements. It's helping me heal, just on and on and on. It feels like family. And so what we've heard, what we've seen in the healing that this Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day celebration has been amazing. Next, please. And the exciting thing is, so if you all are aware, there's a We Honor Veterans program, correct, with the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, and there are different levels. The first level being the lowest, the level 5 being the highest, and getting those levels, the more you achieve, it's the more you're invested in the veterans, the more you understand, the more education. And now it is a requirement to have a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day celebration if you want to achieve the highest level, level 5. So it's spreading across the country. I saw California did an incredible one. Colorado's done one. So it is spreading. So really exciting. And then next, please, Wayman. So I just want to share a couple of the lessons learned for me. One of them is, if you have an idea, ask yourself, we have thousands, millions of ideas, right? But ask yourself, is this something I'm passionate about? Is this, oh, one before, Wayman, is this something that's really important? Is it something I believe in? And then identify your people, either a person or your people that believe in it, maybe even more than you believe in it, and then join forces, get your team together. And here it is, commit. And this is what this quote from Goethe, you commit and then you watch and be bold, because once you commit, it's like the universe, providence, God, whatever you believe, it transpires and there is magic that happens. And then listen, and that's what we did with this focus group, is we listened to people, get their ideas, and then plan, develop your plan, and then work tirelessly, and don't listen to the naysayers, because the naysayers are loud. And so I just wanted to bring this welcome home celebration, because I know that all of you will have ideas and you probably implemented them, but I want to hear from you. What is something that has been like bothering you, nagging at you, an idea that like, I really want to do it? So I'd like to open the floor to some ideas that you have that maybe you have never, that you've like, I don't think I could do it, or maybe an idea that you implemented that you want to share your successes. So I'm going to read this quote to you again. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And I have to say, without this amazing team, this welcome home celebration, the genius, power, and magic that I've seen since it was an idea in 2015 is just, it's extraordinary. So I now turn it over to the team. Love to hear your thoughts, ideas. Oh, and I love this one. Once a hero, always a hero. So thank you.
What an amazingly inspirational story. I think so many of the people, I think everybody on right now is just very touched and processing such an inspirational message. And with that, yes, let's open it up. And Diane, could you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, so question is, what has there been an idea that is you're passionate about, that's been nagging at you, you've been afraid to do, and maybe just want to call it out there? Or has there been an idea that you've been implemented and successful? And tell us about it, and tell maybe some lessons you learned. Help inspire us so we can learn from you.
Now, I know some people on this call, and I've had ideas for many of the ones watching out here from these little windows. So don't act quiet now. So I would love to hear, we would all love to hear maybe some ideas that you wanted to implement. And Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not just ideas for work or for Gilchrist, it's general, right?
And it could be small ones, like I thought about this and I implemented. It could be small, it could be big, but I'd love to hear your ideas. And just remember, when you commit, be bold, genius, magic, and power happens. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Diane, hi, it's Mary Summers. Hi, Naaman. I got to see you on Saturday at the YMCA event, which was so lovely.
Good to see you again.
Yes. And I'm sorry I don't have my camera on, but what I'm thinking about, I'm trained as a career coach, and I recently retired from my job, and I thought, wow, I'm not sure I should have retired from my job. And it's funny, what's happened is, we keep hearing about the great resignation, and how sometimes because people made the choice, sometimes because the choice was made for them, people are not working and are doing the work that they had once done. So I started thinking about that a lot. And as a career coach, I just want to help people through that transition. So I've purchased the website My Great Transition, and I'm just going to start really building my own private coaching business to help people go through this process of transition to find the work that they're really passionate about, the problems that they want to address. How can I help them work through that so they can begin perhaps starting their own business or finding work that's meaningful to them. So I'm just, for the first time, putting it out there in a big way, but I just think helping people through transition is where I want to spend my time.
Wow. Well, helping people transition, and in
Yes,
hospice, it's another form of transition.
it is.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for sharing your idea with us. And that with that, Jane raised her hand a little earlier on. I see Michael has his hand up. So Jane, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'll just be very brief because then actually I have another Zoom call that I'll have to get off with and go talk to a new volunteer. Two ideas that really have to do with here, and one I cannot take credit for. My coworker Lindsay Ellis and I were dreaming one day, and you know how important mental health is for all of us. And we thought about, wouldn't it be wonderful to set up a Zen room where just a small room wouldn't take a lot of money, but maybe just had noise machine, inspirational reading in it, plants or nice lighting, just a space where we could sign up to go for 15 minutes just to sort of regroup on certain days and sort of recenter ourselves. The other one, I've thought about this as a recruiter. We have too many volunteers. We have the good fortune of having too many volunteers that want to go to the centers, and what to do with that. And I have found out so many interesting talents that our volunteers have that are not necessarily sitting at the bedside. I would love to see maybe an afternoon session every afternoon. In my mind, I've called it the happy hour or R&R, and it could just be teaching. This would probably be impacting more family members than patients, but giving them something to do while they're waiting with their loved one, just breathing exercises or music or dance or art activities. But another way to engage our volunteers and their talents without necessarily sitting at the bedside. So anyway, those are two ideas that I've had.
I love the clinical implications of that. Thank you so much, Jane. And Michael, you are raising your hand, and Chris, you took your mic off mute. So I assume, are you? Do you want to go after Michael? Silence. All right. Well, Michael,
Like that, I didn't realize.
please
I want to
share your
piggyback off
idea.
of Mary's because I did a nurse coaching class, a 60-hour class, and I think that approach is what hospice needs to become, because we don't make logical decisions in hospice. It's all emotional, and coaching kind of helps tap into that. So I've been mulling it, but I would love to eventually like make a basic coaching training for staff and like a practice time available every so often, because I think pairing that with the known techniques for palliative communication and goal setting things would be a lot nicer. I think it would lead to better care, which is wonderful, but I also think it really helps the clinicians realize that it is not their journey, and it helps create this real patient-focused distance away from the stress of it if they make decisions that we might not agree with. So I've kind of been mulling on that, but it's really funny that Mary talked about coaching as well.
Thank you so much. Coaching, I know that would be welcomed in a number of ways. And Chris, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, no, I've had a dream for a long time to develop a visual or illustrated end-of-life teaching, sort of a graphic. It's called medical graphics. And I would love to do that. I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I'm photography, but not for free art. And so my goal would be to collaborate probably with a young person, an up and coming sort of starving artist, to develop something like this. And then it would become, we could morph it into whatever group or ethnicity or neighborhood that we needed to, so that we could make it so helpful for people who are health illiterate and actually functionally illiterate. So we'd have end of life teaching for everybody in the country, in the world.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Versatility that can make understanding end-of-life care more accessible, even to those that are not literate. Wow, that's an amazing idea. And I've heard so many. I do have one, and with me, mine always goes to relationship. And when I was serving as a chaplain on the clinical teams, and we saw so many Catholic patients, right? And in this area, many people, when they're transitioning, they want to have anointing of the sick, right? And priests are harder and harder to come by these days. But I wanted to have like some kind of luncheon or gathering with some of the priests in the area, so we can know who's at which church and which area. But more importantly, so we have a relationship with them, they have a relationship with us. Then, of course, the pandemic happened, so I've never gotten that off the ground. But maybe it could be revisited. And along a similar note, when thinking about the safety of and comfort of our staff and our volunteers, building a relationship with some of the law enforcement community, maybe a relationship with an officer or group in every neighborhood that we serve, and have some kind of quarterly check-in with them as well, maybe give them lunch as well. So, but these are a couple of my ideas. Diane, you want to take it away? Final thoughts?
Just you all just do it, like the Nike slogan. You've got an idea, you're passionate. It can, I mean, all your ideas are life-changing. They can change lives. And so commit and watch the magic happen.
And
have a great rest of your day and week, everybody. Nice seeing you. Thank you for being here.